All right, so man, we're here.
We're here.
We've done it. So a little bit of context for everybody. Obviously, this is the first time. So Yugen trying out this new podcast format for us. Super early, in the game, but yeah, super excited to do this. So obviously, River, for the people that don't know, and that's going to be a lot of people at this stage. Man, give me a little bit of a brief introduction about you. I think how you got here. As far as your kind of expertise, where you came from, how you got to the point where we're now at Yugen, and then hopefully I can reciprocate, give a little bit of spiel about me, and then we'll just see where the conversation takes us, man. What do you think?
Sounds good, yeah. So I'm River. I am co-founder with yourself, Matthew, of Yugen Agency. We're a design agency that specialise in branding and web design. How I got here. So I've always been into art, taking it right back to when I was like 5 years old as a kid. I was always doing drawing competitions with my little bro.
Nice,
and
man.
Taking it right up. So I've always been like a creative. And I've sort of withheld that like for the whole time during school. I never really knew that I could make a career out of art or design.
Yeah.
And I wasn't really expecting to either. But I just kind of carried on. Took it I think I did graphic design at GCSE level.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed that. Had a great teacher too, so that really helped.
It's always nice when you get that kind of early input, right? That kind of wisdom that
exactly,
you can kind of, that kind of persona that you can look up to, right? That you can look back in kind of 5, 10, 15 years time and say, yeah, they were kind of a bit of a part of how I got here, right?
Exactly, yeah. There's always those teachers that you just have that connection with, and maybe they like to go to you first amongst the other students, and just make you feel good and empower you to do more and keep doing your thing. So yeah, shouts out to Mr. G. He was a big part in just getting me to where I'm at now and enjoying design.
Yeah.
Fast forward a little bit more, I went on to do graphic design at A levels, and then went on to do product design at DMU at university level. After I had my product design degree, I ended up getting a job. It was at Asda, as you do. So fresh out of uni.
We've all been there, bro. I was Morrison's. Morrison's.
Yeah. Superstores always getting those graduates or wannabe designers. Yeah. So got a job at Asda. Sort of was struggling to get into product design, and that was when I had friends, family coming to me saying, could you do other bits of design, such as graphic desigin? Could you do me a logo?
Yeah, always the way.
So I was like, yeah, I could do that for you, and it allowed me to flex that creativity a little bit more.
Yeah.
Did a few projects like that, and ended up building a little bit of a portfolio, and that was what got me my foot in the door to be an in-house designer for a company that does signage for super yachts.
Perfect. So I'm just going to touch on your portfolio then a little bit. So it sounds like you're able to curate your portfolio through just kind of spec work, just kind of work for friends and family, that sort of stuff, rather than kind of through kind of actual kind of paid work, right?
Of course, yeah. So it's always that thing of you get out of uni and everyone wants to have experience. Like everyone all the employers looking for new talent, they're like, I need at least 1 year, 2 years experience, but being fresh out of uni, you don't have that. So I was taking any and every job that came my way, and I was also just doing like passion projects too. So made up brands, sort of presentation design and product design too, and that just kept me like sort of in love with design still, allowed me to sort of get down to it and flex those muscles again. So I was able to build a little bit of a portfolio from that, and then put it all together to make it look like professional work that I'd actually done, although I was transparent about it, being spec work. And then I was just managed to land my first job as an in-house designer.
Man, I want to touch a little bit on the portfolio stuff, because it's something that comes up time and time again, and it's something that I think a lot of designers, when they're first trying to get into the industry, it's the tale as old as time. It's I can't get any work because I don't have a portfolio, and I can't get a portfolio because I can't get any work. And it's something that I've found is you know, you mustn't misconstrue portfolio for your CV or your resume, right? People a lot of the time, they want to take, you know, the opportunity to, you know, let's say they want to get a piece of work and they can use that to make their portfolio. But the fact of the matter is, and it's true for me and someone that, you know, I've been in the industry for 10, 12 years, it's, you know, when you've got the work, that's when it is quite difficult to carve out the time to really curate the portfolio. So what I would say to those people is use the time when you don't have paid work, when you're not on someone else's timetable, when there are no deadlines, to look for ways that you can get a portfolio together, right? Do some spec work, set yourself challenges. Like you said, you know, if there's any kind of friends and family that need some work doing, use that as an opportunity to really flesh out a portfolio where, you know, the stakes are low, right? There's no kind of high-end clients that are waiting for you to deliver X, Y, Z. You can really use that opportunity to get that portfolio ready so that when the time does come and you are then trying to put yourself out there to the world to say, hey, I'm ready, I need to be hired, you've got a little bit there to show people, right? And man, I don't know about you, but for myself, you know, I've got so many kind of pieces of work that I've done, but finding the time to actually sit down and curate a full case study and actually put it out there as a portfolio, it's difficult when you've got a list of, you know, jobs that need doing, right? So that's something that I would say there. So yeah, it's interesting that you say that, really, that from the get-go you took that opportunity to, you know, build a bit of a portfolio before even working in the industry was ever really a feasible option for you, right?
Exactly, yeah. And one thing I'd like to add to that too is, as you're doing these projects, you want to the dream is to have more work, to get some paid work eventually. So as you're completing those pro bono or freelance projects, you want to be doing your portfolio as you're going along, and then putting it out there. Document your work, document your process, and then that's how you can put it out into the world and hopefully manifest it and attract more of those paid jobs. So yeah, you don't have to have this. Going back to what you're saying, you don't have to have this holistic 30-page PDF portfolio. But documenting what you're doing, putting it on those social channels, and just letting people know, like, hey, I'm here, this is what I do, this is what I can do, and that could attract some paid work too. And yeah, just don't work under radar.
That's it.
Is what I'm saying, really.
Perfect. Good stuff, man. Yeah, no, that's really great to hear. So, okay, take me back then. So, yeah, you mentioned Luminautica. You mentioned that you know, your journey kind of took you there.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about that. How that kind of primed you for essentially, you know, taking the path to either working for yourself, then eventually, obviously, this new venture that we've got going on here.
Yes, so I was at Luminautica up until about 2 years ago now, so I've not been there for 2 years. And I ended up working there for about 4 years in total. So I entered that job, and my first task was to rebrand the whole company. So it's quite a small company. They do have phenomenal quality products. But their branding was just a little bit off and wasn't like a true reflection of like the superior work that they were doing. So yeah, my first task was to give the company a whole fresh brand.
So nothing like dropping you in the deep end, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And how were you for that? Were you up for the challenge? Were you nervous? What?
On the front, I was like, I've got this.
Yeah.
But inside, I was like, what am I doing? Who am I to do this?
A little bit of imposter syndrome.
Yeah. Am I qualified to do this? Can I do this? But I did know deep down that I could. I just hadn't proved it to myself yet. So yeah, I just put in all the time and effort that I had. I was constantly researching and getting inspiration outside of work hours too, just to make sure that I sort of lived up to what I kind of said that I could do. But yeah, that was pretty successful. And after doing that, they were able to get some higher paid clients or secure some of those bigger shipyards and get some big contracts.
Nice.
Can't be linked directly to what I did.
But
I'm sure it was a contributor to the success.
Cog in the machine, right?
Seen. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I was there for 4 years, did various projects there, from doing all their collateral, custom sort of like microfiber towels and welcome packs for clients. So everything from start to finish, website design work too. And whilst I was there, I was constantly, because I did want to work at like a design agency and eventually have my design agency. I'd always known that since I was about 15. So yeah, I was constantly doing those freelance projects for friends and family still. And I ended up being stuck there in the job, really. I did enjoy it, but I wanted, as I said, to do like more agency work style projects. But I was stuck. I have 3 kids, and I had to put food on the table. I had a rented house to pay for, and I just didn't have time outside of the hours I was already working to kind of just break free and go for something else. So yeah, we ended up doing myself, my wife, and kids doing something super drastic where we bought a bus, an ex-council bus. We ripped everything out of it and turned it into our home on wheels. And I said, we're just going to go traveling for 2 years. I'll be able to do freelance on the road and build that portfolio up, build up my clientele, and then hopefully have that dream of having a design agency. So yeah, that's what we did. We got rid of the rented house. We sold almost all our belongings and converted this bus.
There you go.
Went traveling, did work on the road, and I think that kind of brings me up to
that's where I come in, man. So for the listeners then, so River and I we essentially met on the road through our kind of new venture of this kind of van life movement. So myself and my now fiance, we have our own van. And we were traveling through Scotland as well at the same time that River and his family were. So and again, so for myself, I've always been a remote worker. I'll touch on my kind of background either later on or perhaps in another episode. But essentially, it was a case of hitting the road and kind of working remotely, and that's where I then met River. And we kind of hit it off, and it turns out that we did the same things, or at least in the same arena that kind of complemented each other, right? So obviously you've got a lot more experience in the kind of the branding side of things. I'm kind of more UX, UI, and all that sort of stuff. But obviously, ultimately it comes down to the way that we think about these processes, right? And obviously the strategy behind all of these things, which I think is a core thing that we are trying to build into the fabric of Yugen, right? And I think it's just being aligned in those sort of fundamental principles of not just running a business, but how we kind of go through individual projects. It just seemed to be a bit of a no-brainer, right? So
exactly,
and that's kind of brought us to this moment, really.
So obviously, like we just said, we met on the road. Funnily enough, we were at the most northerly point in the country at the peak of Scotland on the NC 500. And it just so turns out we hit it off, started talking, and we only lived about half hour away from each other. Back down in the Midlands. It's funny how these things work. But that drastic change of me, like just shaking up the system, shaking up my routine, and shaking up everything that I'd ever known, allowed me to break the cycle and get to where I'm at now.
It took a big risk, right? You were kind of giving up essentially, a lot of stability and kind of safety, right? And obviously, in your position with 3 kids and a wife to feed, it's that's a much bigger task than let's say myself, for example, and Amy. We were kind of able to be a lot more kind of we were in a position where we were able to take more risks and really not have to worry about what if it doesn't work out and all this sort of stuff. And thankfully, kind of touch wood, nothing's kind of everything's worked out for the best, and I think everything that we do always brings us to the point that we're supposed to be. So just tell me a little bit about what was going through your head when you were making those kind of decisions to say goodbye to a safe monthly salary, money coming in, giving up all your possessions as well, like that kind of been easy. What was going through your head?
I mean, conflict. So part of me was like, I'm fed up. I just want to do this. It's insanity doing the same thing every single day and expecting a different result. So that was one side of it, and then the other side was like, but I'm really comfortable here. I'm surrounded by good people. I have a nice house. Kids are doing well in school. Like everything was okay. There wasn't anything massively wrong with what was going on, but I just wasn't fulfilled. Like a lot of anxiety, but at the same time as well, I was like, we could do this. Everything could be horrendous. We could hate van life. And we'd just sell the bus, get another rented house, get the kids back in school, and get another
cross
job.
That bridge when you come to it,
it's
right?
Like almost we could end up in the exact same place that we were in before.
Yeah.
So there was almost like nothing to lose. Like we were giving everything up temporarily, but it's nothing we can't get back.
Yeah.
So that was what sort of empowered me to just take that leap of faith. And then obviously my wife too, like she was super like, it was kind of her idea too. We'd always dreamt about doing it, but thought it would be something we'd do when we're older, when the kids grew up. So yeah, she was like fully on board, and that was really helpful.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So that was what was going through your mind. What was the driver though? Like what was telling you to do these things rather than yourself? You know, were there any kind of outside influences? Were there any kind of mentors that were in the industry that were doing these kind of things? What was kind of, you know, where were you taking this from to say, do you know what, I can do this for myself on the road, and obviously ultimately, you know, launch your own, you know, design agency?
Yeah. I mean, I've been to a couple of van life festivals before and heard, you know, it's just such a big nomad community of people doing the same thing and earning a living on the road. So I definitely knew that aspect was possible. And then I've always been big on just like personal development, watching all these motivational videos on YouTube as you do. Who have you got? Name drop for me. Man, I'm going to drop Chris Do in there.
The Chris Do, the greatest, right?
Yeah. There's too many to think of, but Chris Do is one of my biggest go-tos in the design sort of community.
I understand Chris Do is going to be a future guest of the Yugen podcast, right? Absolutely,
yeah. Manifesting it right here.
Shout out to Chris Do, man.
So he was like a huge sort of business of design kind of talk, and I realised that we could sort of make those big numbers and have that agency that he sort of had when he was at Blind. And that was just something that I aspired to, and we're taking those first baby steps now. Yeah,
perfect. So let's just talk a little bit about Yugen then itself. So essentially Yugen is obviously a design agency. We focus on branding, UX, UI design, web design, some marketing as well. And obviously, so we love to kind of touch on, you know, the kind of the sustainability space, right? So maybe talk a little bit there about, you know, how our values aligned in terms of, you know, the state of the world and, you know, all these sort of things that, you know, and this is all stuff that we spoke about, you know, sat around a campfire at 2 a.m, middle of Scotland, few whiskies deep. Obviously, we were talking about ways that we can, you know, essentially, you know, build our own empire, but also give back, right? And I think that that's something that, you know, I'm certainly proud of. You know, it's certainly early days, but you know, what's your thoughts there on kind of, you know, how we were able to bring our kind of core values of kind of the sustainability side and you know, just kind of being friendly to the planet, and how we managed to bring that into Yugen?
Yeah, so let me break it down. So I had this huge shift in my life doing what I did, making that big transition from traditional, conventional lifestyle to this bus life that I'm doing right now.
Yep.
On my own terms, I basically redesigned my life how I wanted it to be. I gave up everything that I knew before so I could like design it from the ground up.
Yeah.
And one of the things I wanted to do was, when I was a freelance designer, was work on projects that I was passionate about and that I wanted to do. I didn't want to work on projects that I wasn't passionate about.
Right.
And one of those that is huge for us is like the sustainability sort of space, which we live by in our own lifestyles anyway, you know, recycling, living a minimal lifestyle, non-consumerist, and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
And then when I met you had the same, obviously coming from van life, it's kind of not a given, but we're very much aligned. It's a similar kind of community that with similar values.
Right.
So I think when we were first talking about Yugen at its inception, we were talking about how we want to kind of blur the lines between professional and this design agency,
right,
with personal values, traits, and passions. We are still finding our feet a little bit, but at the beginning we were like, okay, let's do this design agency, let's do some quality work, let's make some nice money, let's create the lifestyles that we want to be able to have for ourselves. And as it's grew, it's kind of morphed and adapted, and we've at first we were like, should we generalize so we're not excluding anyone so we could get more clients? But then we were like, but then we're going to attract kind of work that we don't want to do, which went against kind of redesigning
it's the
from
classic,
the ground up, right?
It's the classic kind of dilemma that a lot of people face when they, design a building for a business from the ground up.
Exactly, right? Yeah. And although we have like a huge experience from a freelance standpoint, we didn't enter this design agency with a roster of clients where we didn't have to worry about that stuff and we could position how we wanted to.
Yeah.
We had no clients. We started from scratch. So yeah, sustainability was always a seed that we planted at the beginning, and working with those kind of companies in that space doing good for the world. But we did have those initial doubts of whether it's feasible.
Yeah.
But yeah, as we've gone on, our first client happened to be in the sustainability space, which is kind of like a little message from the universe saying like, yeah, you can do this.
I think it's true, man. When you put it out there, when you kind of will it into existence, like the Chris Doe comment that we just made a few minutes ago. Man, these opportunities do present itself. But I'd just like to touch on that a little bit because I think it's super important, talking about our personal values. And this is something that we'll get into on another episode, I think. But it's, how important it is to actually, weave your core values and your personalities into your businesses and your brand. I think it's such a super important and powerful thing that you can do that a lot of people can relate to, right? And it's, again, people buy from people. We're not trying to hide behind our computer screens and pretend that we're something that we're not. I think it's very important for us, and I think likewise for a lot of people that are going to be in our position, to be super upfront, super transparent about what it is that your business is about, what you are about as founders of the company. And I think it's very hard to misunderstand the intention behind the business when you put your personal core values at the forefront, right? And I think it's to me, it seems like a no-brainer, and it's something that I've at least, witnessed and kind of through a lot of the mentors that I look up to. It's something that they always kind of hammer down, right? And it's this, be open, be transparent, put yourself out there. And man, if you build it, they will come, right? And it's just, at least for us, super early days, but we're here to put that out to, you guys, the listeners, put that out to you guys and show you guys our journey, talk about our personal values, what we want from Yugen. And we don't know where the future is going to take us or the business, right? But at least if we're able to talk and discuss about, at least what the ideal picture is, right? At least then we have a bit of a blueprint that we can, pursue and kind of work towards. Yeah,
it's just having that vision and holding it, keeping it at the forefront of your mind and just working one step at a time to get there. And things will adapt on the way. You're not going to have it all planned out.
Yeah.
We certainly don't. But yeah, we're just taking it as it comes, and we have those core values that we're holding close, and we're being stubborn enough to not let anyone else kind of trample on those. Like we keep them at the top. I always think like, how can you do your best work if you're not passionate about it?
Right.
Or how could you get through the hard times of business when you're not passionate about it?
And that's what it comes down to.
It's easy to throw in the towel if it's stuff you hate doing, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. Good stuff, man. Okay, so one last kind of point there before we kind of wrap this up. We wanted to kind of keep this initial episode, fairly brief. We just wanted to give a little bit of an introduction to you and obviously Yugen. And I think in the next one we'll kind of reverse it round. I'll talk a little bit about myself. So Yugen, we're here now. We're a few months in. Man, give me a little bit of a brief picture of where you see Yugen going in the next kind of 4, 5, 6 years time.
Yeah.
Paint that picture for us before we head off and go and have ourselves a whiskey and call it a night.
Cool, yeah. So I see us remaining a somewhat intimate and small team. So we're 4 strong at the moment, and I see us going up to about maybe 10 to 15. So not a huge team of like 50 like some of these huge agencies out there. But yeah, just remaining intimate, having our own studio space would be a dream. Nice kind of heritage building, brick walls, lots of natural light.
Basketball hoop,
a few skateboards on the wall, and lots of greenery.
There you go.
And then in terms of like financially, really, just working with amazing clients that we believe in their mission and their purpose, people that are like changing industries, people that are better in the world. That's the type of clients that we want to work with. And we've just secured our first 5-figure job. We have. So
let's cheers to that, my man. Let's cheers to that.
More of those.
Plenty more of those to come.
Yeah, plenty more of those, and just helping those that are doing good in the world to leverage their impact and do better.
Awesome.
Is what we're about and what we'd like to do more of.
I love it, man. I love it. I'm super excited. Are you?
I'm stoked that this is happening. This is something we just like romanticized about not so long ago. Yeah. So to be where we are now is like,
and it seemed like such a dream, like very, you know, kind of, you know, even, you know, a few months ago, man, Christmas time, it seemed like such a dream. And here we are, we're putting our money where our mouth is. Yeah. You know, we've got, you know, we're nice new studio equipment. You know, we're sat here in front of a nice microphone that we're going to be, you know, keeping up with this new podcast. So yeah, the future's bright for Yugen, man. The future's
putting in the work and shooting the shit.
There we go, man. There you go. You can clip that one. Right, guys. Well, thank you very much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this inaugural episode from the boys at Yugen. My name is Matthew, and this here is River. And we will see you in the next one, guys. Have a drink, have a whiskey, and good night. And we'll see you in the next one. Peace.
Peace.